We're having so much fun talking over here. I forgot to hit record. There it is. Okay, it is a Monday morning around here. Welcome, everybody. This is the No More Mondays podcast, a show where we believe that humans still matter, mediocrity is expensive, and ownership changes your outcomes. I am your host, Angie Callen, and today we are talking about something that impacts all of us, but not in the way we think: money. It can mean choices. It can mean freedom. And today we're going to dig into what it really takes to build a life that gives you options. I would like to welcome my friend Chris Luger, the voice behind Heavy Metal Money, who is here, which is why we were having fun rocking out to my little, rock intro music there.
That's right.
Chris
that's right.
Chris is a once systems engineer, which should tell you why we get along. Former engineers, yay, unite, who are systems thinker, who turned real estate investor, nonprofit founder, and content creator. And he built his own path towards financial independence, not from a perfect starting point, but during real life. He came into this world later than most, navigating some life changes like divorce, raising teenagers, figuring things out along the way. I'm a big fan of that. And that's why his perspective on this whole like money is freedom and how to save for the future is really, really relatable. And I love, Chris, your very human, grounded take in a space that can honestly feel a little dry, a little rigid, a little overly optimized, and a little shooting all over yourself if you're not there at age 45, right? So no smooth jazz here today, just heavy metal money and a few mindset shifts that will get you rethinking your relationship with finances. Chris, welcome to No More Mondays.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. This will be fun. And I'm definitely one where let's go ahead and turn the volume up on freedom, on giving yourself options, right? And that's what I'm all about. That's what I do here at Heavy Metal Money. So
it's so interesting. I was actually talking to somebody. I was coaching a group of coaches in shameless plug, Master Job Search Coach. And we were talking about like the difficulty of the market right now and how people are just in tough financial tough spots. And when it comes to financial decisions right now. And one thing I've observed to that fact, and no shade to those who are, I've been there. If you've read my book, chapter 5, oftentimes the situation isn't as dire as we feel like it may be. We just don't actually reverse engineer the money to see like how much you actually need to live, or what it means to be financially independent. Because when most of us hear that term, we envision extreme savings. I mean, maybe we even envision extreme couponing. If you've ever watched that show and attempted to be an extreme couponer and you're like, oh, this is not for me. But like rigid rules, we have to have a giant 401k. There's like this like traditional narrow route to financial success. But I love that you talk about this differently and you're also not a fit the mold guy. So tell me, in your opinion, what it really means to be financially independent outside of the textbook definition that we've always known.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I think it really comes down to, and I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people, they often, I guess, just fail to realize how much they spend and what they need to live. Right. So they like imagine this giant, I need, if you're Susie Orman, you need $5 million, $10 million, like whatever. And so I think that's that's definitely overlooked. But for me, it was financial independence changes everything. It really does, because when you're not dependent on a paycheck to survive, right? A lot of things change, right? You tend to make better decisions overall. You make better decisions about your career. You make better decisions about your relationships, how you spend your time. You stop tolerating things that you shouldn't tolerate. You know what I mean? I feel as though the real wealth, and this is something that I really try to help people, is the real wealth is the time. Yes. The time that you gain. And it's not the stuff, right? And so I think that once you have the time, that's when you're successful. That's when you truly are free, right? You build freedom because you have time to do the things that matter to you, right?
It isn't about the money. It's what the money will do for you, your family, your lifestyle, your time, and your independence. And for anybody out there who's like starting to get sweaty palms because you feel like you're behind, Chris is a self-proclaimed late bloomer in this space. And I'm curious how that has shaped both your perspective and your approach versus, the 20-year-old who's just had a job with a 401k contribution since they were 20.
Right. Right. Yeah. So to your point, I really was, I didn't really know anything about money or early retirement until I was about 38, 39 years old. And like you briefly mentioned, the catalyst for my path was really divorce, right? But that's to say that it's never too late. And even if those people out there that think that, oh, you know what, it's too late now. What's the point? It doesn't even matter. Like, can I even retire? Because they think they're too late. And I will tell you, I do believe that most people, not everyone, but most people, especially the people that are going to be listening to this, watching this, I feel as though you can reach financial independence in 10 years. I honestly believe that. I believe that if you're intentional with your finances, I think you can reach a point where you could walk away from your W-2 job if you want. You could, again, it gives you options, right? And that's the beauty of it, is it gives you the opportunity to do the things that bring you joy, do the things that you want to do that maybe it doesn't bring in that fat paycheck, but it fills your heart, right? You can do those things. And I honestly think that most people can do it in 10 years. And I know I'm going to get people coming back saying,
Bring it on.
I know. Oh,
Bring
it must be rough. Blah, 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 blah. You're so lucky. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it took 10 years of hard work. And so, I think that it's not super, I'm going to say this. It's relatively simple, but it's not easy, right?
That's a very, very good way to put it. Well, there's a fair amount of discipline, maybe some choices here, because I'm going to go back to something you said earlier when we were talking about like how much, calculating your financial picture and like what you, what's required. And I'm using that word on purpose for a second for like day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month living. There is a difference between what you need and what you want. And if you are willing to live on what you need in exchange for what you want in a moment, you can, in 10 years, have all of the stuff you want.
I do agree. I think that, I'm definitely one that, there's other people in the media that the financial media that are all like scorched earth, rice and beans. Life's going to suck for 10 years. And, I'm not that extreme. Like, I am definitely, extreme personal finance. We're going to do it, but we're going to do it intentionally. And the thing is, like you said, needs versus wants. I think it is important. I think some people don't really necessarily understand that, especially if you talk to some millennials or Gen Z, they could say, well, that's a need to have Netflix. I'm like, well, is it really though?
That's a want. And it is okay to put that on the choice side of I'm going to choose to pay for this. Right. So exactly. I like the idea of it's not like living bare bones, for because then you're not enjoying the life that you have for 10 years. You are putting it off to tomorrow, what you could have today. There's a little bit of a balance here, which might seem counterintuitive, but the whole concept here in my mind is this idea that like we have more control over our financial freedom. It comes down to choice. And in this day and age, this to me is super relevant to anybody who is not 62 and a half, because we don't have pensions anymore. Right. And that's where this dynamic and why I think bucking the traditional trends is important, because a lot of the traditional retirement assets that Gen Xers had, or no, I'm sorry, baby boomers and older Gen X had aren't available to us. So we have to think about this differently.
Yeah, it is your responsibility. 100%. I mean, you have to take responsibility for it. But I think that there are so many tools out there. I'm not saying it's super easy, but there are so many tools out there. I mean, obviously, one of the big things is, you mentioned needs versus wants. And I feel as though that, we need to spend money on what we value once we have our needs met. Again, our needs, we're going to need a roof over our head. There's kind of like the big pillars, right? There's going to
Yes.
be, there's going to be like our shelter. There's going to be food, right? There's going to be transportation to get back and forth to work, right? And once you get these like basic pillars down, well, now you can start to bring in some of those wants. And like for me, like I'm a huge music guy, right? So I'll bring in my music subscriptions and that type of thing. But you know what? There are times like when I first started budgeting, right? Over 10 years ago, and I was like, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I had to stop, Amazon Prime and Netflix and, all of the things. And then after 3 months, 6 months, you can start to bring those things back in. And now, you start to build that new, I don't want to say budget, because sometimes when you say, oh, you're budgeting, people think it's so limiting, but it is, right?
Thank God.
I know, but you're spending on the things that you find value in. And I think that if you do that along the way, it's not as, life doesn't seem so restrictive for the next 10 years, right?
Yeah. And the big thing there is like the intent behind it, right? Mm-hmm. You chose to either bring it on or you chose to remove it versus just letting it roll over every month, which if we want to talk about streaming subscriptions, guilty. Remember like 7 years ago when streaming was revolutionary because you could get rid of the $200 a month Comcast cable subscription and spend $12. Well, yeah, all of a sudden, all of that has ballooned right back to the same amount of money. So some of this is also awareness and actually paying attention to like where your money does and doesn't go. I'll be really honest that we had some very lean, hard days where we were basically eating rice and beans in the form of a 5-gallon bucket of root vegetables that we pulled out of a garden while we were building our 225 square foot tiny home inside of a gutted school bus.
Wow.
You don't have that was recovery. That was recovery. But you don't have to choose that unless it's what has chosen you. But there was a time and place where we did the envelope system because that was all that we possibly had. So there are a lot of tools out there that can be leverageable. I would love to know some of your favorites.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the biggest, like the number one thing that if you're hearing this for the first time and you need something that, okay, you know what? He says I can do this in 10 years. What's the very first thing? Well, the first thing is really to start tracking where the money's going. You need to stop the leaks because I guarantee I hear this all the time. And all the people that I coach and the people that I talk to, they always come to the table saying, well, I really don't spend that much money. I don't know where it's going until you track it. So they, in their mind, like they just, I'm really not spending that much money. But then once you look back the last 3 months or 6 months, you realize, like for me, it was eating out. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that the the biggest tool is just something to track where the money's going. This could be your banking app that you already have, but there's a lot of other tools out there. I used Mint when Mint was a thing. Yep. And now, and I will say, if you want, I started with literally a notebook and a pencil, man, just writing.
Analog.
Can I curse on this? I don't know if I can curse on this.
Of course you can.
Oh, I was gonna say, just write the shit down because you will start to realize how many times you're writing shit down. And it was like, oh yeah, I did go out to eat 3-4 times last week because
I had a $6.29 Starbucks Monday through Friday. Do you know how much that adds up?
Yeah.
Or if you go to Whole Foods and get sushi for lunch 3 days a week, that actually adds up.
Totally. I went to lunch today. It was $19. Like, dude, I can't do it every single day, I went today because I went today because you can edit this, right? I guess I shouldn't say what day it is.
Nah, it's okay. Go ahead. Some people out there have figured out that this is pre-recorded, but happy Monday, everyone.
That's right. Happy Monday. But no, it was, I went and had, to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I had corned beef and cabbage. And I will tell you, it was worth every single penny.
Every single penny? I support that.
It was so good.
I support that. And I will even allow you to have your $6 green beer later today, if you so choose. But that was an intention.
Yes.
Right. And, I think this goes back to this bigger picture about freedom, because a lot of times we do think about money as this, like, we think about it as a tool to create freedom instead of something that we actually have control over, and like we feel like we have to restrict and like pack it away. How do you actually think about money in your life of freedom, or how has that changed over the years?
I think absolutely you're right. And I think that most people, and myself included, before I was, 40-ish years old, when I started educating myself, reading tons of books and blogs and podcasts. And I think money was not, I didn't think of it as, and I think a lot of people don't think of it as, well, this is a path to freedom. This is a tool that can be used to do these other things. It is always a moment of stress. It's like, do I have enough? I don't want to know how much I don't have. I don't want to know how much I spent on streaming subscriptions. I don't know how much groceries cost. I don't want to know how much my car payment was. Like, literally, it's always stressful. And so that was the thing. You asked me, like, well, how do I look at that now? Absolutely, now it is a fucking tool. Excuse my language, but it is. Like, now I look at it differently. It absolutely is something that can give me options and freedom, and I can do the things that light me up. I can spend time doing things that I don't need to get a paycheck for. I can choose who I work with, when I work with them. I can work with cool people, and if you're a dick, I'm not going to work with you. And so, I mean, I hate to say it.
You all know why I love this guy now, right? Like, just call the spade. Sorry, dude. You're an ass. I don't want nor need your money. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, it does give you, and that's the thing is I started to learn that because of the people that I was surrounding myself with and the people I started to learn from. And, I have in my I want to say my team, because I'm involved in real estate. So, I have an architect, I have my real estate agent, and it's like, those are people that, again, they're at a point in their career where they just choose who they want to work with, and they want to work with cool people. It's not like they're just like taking like whatever is coming through the door. And it's just, it like I said, it gives you options, and it just changes the way you get up every morning. It really does.
And here's the mindset shift. You said it. I'm going to bring it back and maybe rephrase it. Is that society, and I would say life expectations, have changed pretty substantially in the last 20 years. And there's lots of reasons for that. Generational changes, technology, the Great Recession, all of these things that snowballed and really changed the fact that there aren't pensions anymore. Right. And so what you said, I think, is a really powerful thing to think about and to reframe in our minds. And that is, instead of money being the thing we are just slaving away to get, let's flip the script and have it be the lever with which we get to live life on our terms. Because the other thing is, we don't have pensions. We will likely work a little longer now than we used to because we're living longer. That means I want to put off my fun. I want to put off things even less now, right? Like, how many people do you know that were like, oh, when we retire, we'll go do these 10 trips.
Right.
I'd rather do these now and be able to have like the financial ability to do it. And so for somebody out there who feels like maybe they're still in grind away to make the dollar versus let's use the dollar as a resource, how can we start making decisions that actually align with the life we want and not just what we think we're supposed to do or have to do or think is the only choice?
Yeah. I think so. I've learned something recently. Most people talk, when we talk about personal finance and retiring early, most of the people think of the FIRE movement, right? You reach financial independence with the option to retire early. And I've learned something new. And this is the acronym called FILE, the FILE movement. This is where you reach financial independence to live early.
I was going to say, I know I was going to be live. I like it.
And so, and it's where, you can look at those things that light you up. I think one of the things that and again, I'm, just a plug, I think a great book out there by Dr. Jordan Grummett is The Purpose Code. I read that book, and it really did help me, again, create the purpose in what I do every day. And you can have multiple purposes, right? But that's the thing. I think the question was, what should people start doing? And I think it really is, go back to the things that you really loved doing as a kid. the things that you love doing in your early 20s, the things that you loved doing just for the joy in doing them. There was no finish line. There was no result, like outcome. You just loved to do it.
There was no net worth Susie Orman 5 million goal.
Right. And because I think then you start to like, oh, that's what I want to spend my time doing. And that's what, you have that why, right? You have, because I think the number one thing, I know I've said the number one thing probably 7 times, but the number
it's okay.
one
We're allowed to have 12 number one things because we can have more than one purpose. There you
right,
go. How's
right,
that?
Exactly. I think that people, if they do kind of get they get bitten by this file bug or fire bug, and they're going to hurry up and get to their FI number, and they're like, okay, I can retire and stuff. And then they're like, and then what? You know what I mean? Like they hadn't put in any thought to like, well, what's going to happen later. Right. And so I just feel as though if you have that why, it's those are the things that will keep you going when things get hard. Because again, you're starting to, you're going to start investing, you're going to start, saving, you're going to build up an emergency fund, you're going to pay down your high interest credit card debt, right? You're going to start working on your path to financial independence. And there is going to be weeks or months where it's hard. And you're like,
yeah, it could be the year 2025 as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hello, dumpster fire, right?
Yes, I know. Well, and so that's the thing is to your point, there's going to be times when it's hard, and that why is what's going to keep you going when those times are hard. And so I think that's one thing that would help anyone listening that wants to like accelerate their path to early retirement for sure.
I must highlight the fact that even the heavy metal money, not heavy metal muddle guy says, know your freaking why. Look at this. We even got special effects on this show. For those of you listening in podcast land, you're missing out. We got strobes. There is even a light up sign that says heavy metal money behind Chris. I'm pretty sure he's wearing a band t-shirt of a certain flavor, which by the way, I've got a question on that. Speaking of money in a minute, and speaking of heavy metal. But the point here is I really need to reinforce the fact that even the money guy is talking about a why. And that is not a coincidence on this show of fewer Sunday scaries and no more Mondays and financial freedom so that you can live life early, because those are all things I'm a huge proponent of, right? Why put off to 62 and a half what I could do at 45 or 35 even?
One thing that I learned, and I learned this back when I was, I was in my 30s and I was working. I was working in the printing technology and publishing industry, and there was, those of you may know who Harvey Mackay is. He's a self-help guy, author. He's got several books out there. Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. He's got a lot of great books out there. Swim with the Sharks is a really great one. But one thing that I remember that he said, and I'll always remember it, and I started to live that way, and I still live that way today. And every Monday, okay, so what people were like, they kind of don't get it, because I'll text like a few of my close buddies on Mondays, and you know what I text them?
Happy
TGIM.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had to wait all weekend just to get here today because I couldn't wait to crush it on a Monday. So it's flipping that script, man. And it's like, so there's still, I think if you can change that mindset, everything else will change after it. So
that's no more Mondays to extreme, y'all. But the point there is, here's the perspective shift. And I think it comes from knowing your why. This is a money mindset shift. This is a Mondays mindset shift, is I get to, not I have to.
100%.
I get to sit down and help somebody today. I get to have another week of impact. I get to use my money and my life for good, right? There's so many more things to life than just making money. It's what the money will do and why you want to make it.
Yeah. I got a story. Can I share this quick story with you? So
of course.
When I worked in that industry, I oversaw this team here in Minneapolis. There's like a team of like 12 people, and I remember I was having this conversations with this one woman that was there, and again, it was like having a really bad day, and things were, I was really feeling like there's negativity and that things were going wrong, and it was, complaining about work, complaining about time, complaining about everything. Like it was just, she was having a really bad day, and I remember I looked up, and this was downtown Minneapolis, and where our office, where our building was, right outside was Burlington Northern Railroad, and there was a crew of about 20 people out there laying new railroad ties, right outside, like doing like physical shit.
They still lay new railroad ties.
Oh,
People still happens.
I know, right? And I remember having, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to say their name, but I was like, you get to do this. Are you not happy? Like you're happy you're not out digging ditches, or one of those guys that are out there in the heat busting ass. Like you get,
and even that guy may be grateful he gets to do it, depending on what his circumstances, right? It's eye of the beholder as some of this.
It is, but it's like you got, again, switching that mindset to I get to do this.
Yes.
TGIM, I'm telling you.
TGIM. Life can happen for you if you let it. And a lot of it has to do with perspective. And so, okay, I got to ask, talk to me about where heavy metal mindset comes into all of this.
Yeah. It's really about, I'm always one that kind of goes against the grain, right? I like to be everything a little bit more extreme. I like, extreme food, extreme I like extreme music, extreme sports, just whatever it is. And so I think that's where it is that I want people to understand that when you start thinking about, filing your taxes and saving for retirement, it's not just a bunch of stuffed shirts, beige and gray, just like, super boring. It can be more than that. It can be extreme. And you know what? It then gives you the freedom to do the things you want to do. You want to go to another show. You want to buy another concert tee. You want to buy another pointy guitar, like whatever you want to do, it can fuel that. That's what financial freedom can do.
All right. So did you buy the Metallica and the Sphere tickets? Speaking of financial freedom. Woo.
I did. I absolutely did. Fourth time's a charm.
Okay. I'm impressed because I know at one point in time it was a little shockingly spendy. However, you'd regret it if you didn't.
It was brutal. But it wasn't as much. Well, and I'll share. So the package deal. So I got one of the travel packages. So you get 3 nights hotel, and then every ticket, it's 2 full shows, right? It's a Thursday and Saturday. So it's a no repeat. Cool. Yeah, no repeat weekend, right? And so 3 nights hotel, 2 full shows, and tickets were $1,700. And I was like, 3 nights hotel, 2 full shows. That's not bad.
Really,
okay.
It's not that bad once it all shakes out.
If you consider an individual ticket was $700 to $900, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, no problem. I can do that. Well, of course, I waited the first 3 pre-sales, you waited, there's like 316,000 people ahead of you. And then you get in there and there's no seats left. It's like, whatever. But yeah, so I was prepared to spend $1,700 a ticket. When I finally got in on the 4th day, that wasn't even a pre-sale. That was everyone all at once. It was like 5th member fan club, general admission, whatever. And I waited about an hour, and tickets were $2,300. Most money I'd ever spend on a show, but it's a once in a lifetime thing. So I'm pretty stoked. And it's not until 2027. So
it's that far out?
Yeah.
Oh man, so you got a whole year of anticipation to make that money really worth it.
They added 6 more dates in March of 2027. I think it's rad that Metallica, 45 years into it, they're going to have 24 shows at the Sphere. I think it's just super rad.
That's going to be amazing. And this, y'all, is the heavy metal money mindset that might enable you to just go see a lifetime show at an iconic location. Chris Luger, where does everybody find you and learn more about the heavy metal money mindset?
Yeah. Head over to heavymetal.money and you'll find my podcast over there, the Extreme Personal Finance Show, all my socials. Again, I've been blogging all the way back since 2017. I got tons of articles out there, all on spending, saving, investing, earning, turned up to 11.
Yeah. Only because Chris is here and he is the heavy metal guy. We're going to have to rock out to some exit music here in a second. But this has been awesome. Thank you for realness, right? Finance can be, like I said earlier, just a topic that people run away from. And I love how different your perspective is on it, but also approachable. It's real, right? You don't have to have done this perfectly in order to start and set yourself up for success.
So many people run away from it. And I'm just telling you that if you change that and you kind of embrace it and tackle it head on, man, there's so much you can do.
Yeah. Life can happen for you if you let it. There you have it. A conversation about money, ownership, which I'm a big fan of, and building a life that actually gives you options. Seems perfect for No More Mondays. TGIM. Chris Luger, thank you again for being here, being part of the No More Mondays movement, maybe being the No More Mondays movement. And to all of you out there, if this is a conversation that resonated, share it with somebody, listen to it again, go find Chris's resources and give yourself some options, whatever you need to do to live the life that you want now and into the future. Until next time, here's to fewer Sunday scaries